Alright, they said I violated their um community rules and regulation in the last video I uploaded, so they removed the video. Okay, I will have to read it, and I'll be using pidgin English in some places so that those words I used in the write-up that violated their right will not make them to notice this thing again. So I'll be using pidgin English. I'll be using um some English that are not correct, but I know you will understand. Okay, so this is Captive Diary episode, The Rise of God's Captive, episode 1, season 2, and it goes like this. The content: Justin smiled at the way she covered her face shyly while removing her clothes. If he removed one of her hands from her face to enable him remove the clothes hand, she would cover her face with the other hand and at the same time trying to cover her breast with her arm, but he kept removing her hand. He pulled off everything she was wearing, then spent like 2 minutes watching and admiring his God-given endowed wife from her breast, which was trying hard to cover under her arms down to her pubic areas, while she was busy covering her face with her palm. And when she didn't hear or feel his touch on her body again, she removed her hand and opened her eyes a little to see what he was doing. He caught him staring at her body erotically, and she turned the other way shyly, turning her back against him. "I was just admiring your beauty, sweet. You're so beautiful," he whispered into her ear, bending over, then licked her ear, and she felt tickled, bending her head and neck in response to the way he was licking her ear down to her neck hungrily. "I'm so lucky to have you. I love you. I love your breath." He was talking sensually and at the same time kissing and licking her body with his tongue down to her breast, which he gently squeezed in his warm hands before planting his lips on them softly while she closed her eyes and covered her face even more tightly. He removed her hand from covering her face, but her eyes were firmly closed, and she quickly returned her hand to cover her face again as he perused and explored her body with his eyes, mouth, and hands. She could feel his hard and erected penis on her body, and her heart was just beating fast. Removing his boxers, he told her to open her eyes and look at him. "Sweet," he called her, and she answered under her breath, her heart beating faster than normal. "Open your eyes and look at me," he told her softly, but she shook her head vehemently in refusal, and he smiled naughtily. "Please now, I just want to show you something," he begged her, smiling in a naughty way, knowing the naughty thing he was planning to do, but she refused. Then he took one of her hands to his pubic area to touch his hard manhood. "Bring your hand. Help me hold this thing in your hand," he said as he placed his manhood in her hand to hold. Joy, whose eyes were still closed, felt what she was holding very strange. like a rough human body, and she opened her eyes a little to see what it was, only to see that he was stark naked, and it is his manhood she was holding. Jesus! She screamed fearfully at the sight of it, removing her hand, and her body started shaking fearfully, while he laughed naughtily to himself. "What is it?" he asked, laughing and pulling her to himself because she wanted to run out of the bed. Actually, Josie did not want to rush things, seeing the way she was shaking for fear. He felt it was her first time, and how he handles her in her first sexual experience will determine how she would respond at other times. So he decided within himself to just use their first night together and have fun with her, so as to get her mind ready and her body desirous for the act. He just wanted to spoil her with enough foreplay to the point that she would be the one desiring for sex. "Are you scared?" he asked her in a whisper while her heart beat increased 3 times. "Don't worry, I won't do anything this night. I just want us to play naked and enjoy ourselves, okay?" He tried calming her fear, but her body was still shaking. "Alright, come and lie down on my chest." He pulled her closer as he lay down on his back, helping her to rest her head on his chest while he caressed her head and body gently for some minutes before initiating a kiss that went from mild to deep smoky smudges. After about 15 minutes intense caresses that has gotten Joy wet, he asked, "Can I touch your 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 waiting now?" "Can I touch your V?" You know what V stand for? The woman's private part. "Okay," he asked with a sultry voice, but Joy could not answer the question. She enjoyed his touches, especially the way he was exploring her body with his tongue and breathing as if his life depended on it. It gave her titillating feeling that sent some butterflies in her belly, and she felt so special in a way she has never felt before in her entire life. Ordinarily, she would have turned her head in strong refusal and tell him no, but telling a man who's making her feel so special and on top of the world at that point no became difficult for her, and she didn't know how to say no. "You would enjoy it," he told her with a soft voice, his eyes slanting with sexual desire. But Joy wasn't in her right self anymore. She was just looking at him helplessly, with her eyes filled with pleasure. "Huh? Should I?" he asked her again, and she nodded in the affirmative. Then he started fingering her already wet private part. "Ah, Jesus, Jesus," Joy cried out of pleasure. "Oh, Jesus, stop, stop, stop," she cried, wriggling crazily as she cried for pleasure under his touch. "Oh, are you enjoying it?" Johnson, who was also screaming in enjoyment, asked her, and she nodded in the affirmative, but on her lips she was crying, "Stop, stop." He was tempted to go right ahead and penetrate her since she was already enjoying the fingering act, but held himself from doing it just yet, even though his entire adrenaline was asking for it. By the time they finished this round of romance, it was already some minutes to 12 midnight when he allowed her to rest a little on his chest, and from there they both dozed off. Her alarm rang for her quiet time, but she was feeling too tired and sleepy. She snoozed it, and 10 minutes later the alarm started ringing again, and this time it woke Johnson, and he started another round of romance. From this time, he took her hand and placed it on his penis and requested that she caress him down there. "Be touching it for me," he requested with he requested sleepily. "I can't do it," she said, withdrawing her hand immediately. "Please now, I need it. It will help me to sleep," he begged her with sleepy eyes, returning her hand back to it again, and she started shaking again because of the way it was standing strong and hard. "You're spoiling me," she told him timidly, and that was when his eyes cleared from sleep. Sweet, I'm not spoiling you. We are now husband and wife, and you have every right to touch any part of my body, and I also have the right to touch any part of your body I like. Huh? Stop being afraid. It doesn't bite. Look at it. I want you to look at it. He wanted to get her to look at his manhood, but she looked away in refusal, shaking her head in the negative. Sweet, sweet, sweet. He called her, sitting up on the bed and removing the blanket entirely from his body. Sweet, you love me? He asked, and she nodded in the positive that she loved him. Are you sure you love me? He asked her again, and she nodded in response. Then do this for me. I want you to look at my penis and touch it, he requested, and she felt like disappearing into thin air. Hey God, I'm scared, she told him, almost crying. Alright, this is the end of episode 1. Please, any episode that will involve this kind of thing again, in any part of the story, I'll be using voice note. I'll be using voice to read it out, please, to avoid violating their rules again, and to avoid them terminating my YouTube account. Okay, please bear with me. God bless you. See you later for episode 2.